Welcome back to another episode of VHS Files presents the horror section. This podcast contains spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised. Now your hosts, Josh and Jason. Enjoy the horror. All right, well, we're back, and today we're going to be talking worst to the first of the Halloween franchise. So you're getting a lot of Halloween talk from Jason and I here in the Halloween season, but it's the perfect time for it.
I would say so. I mean, you could just look at Josh's background. I see a couple Myers masks and memorabilia. Look behind me, my little backdrop. My house is full of Michael Myers. And we had a new Halloween movie come out. Been seeing a lot of lists online, and I had talked to Josh about it. I don't think I agree with these people's lists. So you know what? Me and Josh being Halloween fans, we're going to make our own.
I mean, that's the joy of being your own person, is you have the right to your own opinion. So I think everybody has a right to list these movies the way they want to, but we have seen some lists that just make absolutely no sense to us. So we're going to put ours out there for everybody, and maybe some people will argue with the way that we number these.
Hey, they say opinions are like assholes.
Everybody's got them. They all stink.
They all stink. So I just didn't agree with a few of the ones I saw. So I'm going to throw them out there. And I'm pretty sure there are people saying, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? There's no way this is better than this one.
And I'm pretty interested to see how our lists are going to go. I have been thinking about how I would rank these for a little while now. And I'm actually quite excited to talk about this, the way I'm going to rank them here and discuss my reasoning for this. So, and I'm anxious to hear what Jason says, because you know, Jason and I, we've referenced this on our show before. If you've seen the movie Summer School and you know who Chainsaw and Dave are, we've referenced that he and I are like Chainsaw and Dave in that movie. We share the same brain when it comes to horror and shit like that. But it should be said that you and I do disagree on things quite a bit sometimes.
Yeah, especially when it comes to horror, we do. I mean, Eric's the one who pointed that out, that, you know, we were like Chainsaw and Dave. If we were in high school and we grew up together, because Josh and I didn't meet each other until later in life, but I think that could have totally been us. But yeah, we do disagree. There's a few horror movies out there that we have different opinions on. And I'm pretty sure even in this list of movies, we're going to have different opinions. But at the end of the day, I still love you, bro.
That's right.
Just remember that.
It all comes down to we can all still love each other, even though we got different opinions.
We all love Michael Myers and Halloween.
So and speaking of Michael Myers and Halloween, I mean, this is a franchise that we both have grown up with. It's we've discussed this on the Halloween Kills podcast, but this is your favorite movie of all time, not just horror movie, favorite movie of all time. This is my favorite slasher movie of all time. Now, when it comes to franchises, I feel like Halloween is, while it's one of the most popular franchises, it's not without its fair share of negatives.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Man, that bitch got herself a nice little dumper.
Tumultuous, round, melon breasts.
Round melon, what?
I honestly feel out of like the top four, I mean, this is also a discussion within itself, but you got your top four horror icons. You got Michael Myers, you got Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface. All of those franchises have problems. There's no bones about that.
Definitely.
And the funny thing is, you know, depending on what you grew up watching the most is going to sway what your opinion is of these movies. But I am of the opinion that I think Friday the 13th is a stronger franchise than the Halloween, but just because Halloween goes off the rails quite a bit. But to be fair, you could say the same exact thing for Friday the 13th. So
yeah,
again, opinions. Everybody's got them.
At least Michael Myers hasn't gone to space yet. That's all I got to say.
Well, that's the biggest thing I take issue with the Halloween franchise, is that it takes itself way too seriously majority of the time.
Yeah, it can.
And I realize how contradictory that sounds, considering we just hounded on the Halloween Kills podcast about how they're trying to interject comedy in the series now.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. It's like one of those things where you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know, it's just fucking weird. It's weird to have stupid comedy introduced into a Michael Myers movie. And I think that's because they've tried to stay so serious for the majority of these movies.
I got peanut butter on my penis.
Ew, Dad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And I mean, if you go through the history of Halloween, you know, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill created these characters, these movies, you know, started this franchise. And to be fair and to be said, this was never meant to be a franchise about Michael Myers. Never. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. I'm sure, I mean, you can get on the internet and find all this information out, but you know, John Carpenter had no intentions of making any sequels to Halloween. It was a one and done story for him. And of course,
I mean, Michael was a moneymaker.
Yeah.
So therefore they were going to make more with him. And then they tried making one without him, and bad things happened as far as money wise, reviews and such things as that. But we'll get to that one here too in this list.
Yes, we will. We're including Halloween 3 in this list because it is part of this franchise. And, you know, the biggest thing about Halloween 3 for me, and we'll talk more about this when we get to our rankings here, but I mean, John Carpenter was still involved in that. So I still feel a lot of his influence in that movie. So therefore I feel like it fits right into this, you know, this list.
Yeah.
And, you know, you talk about seeing people's list on the internet. Like I've seen people listing Halloween 3 as their top Halloween film and then down from there. So again,
those people are psychotic. They're psychotic. Sorry, people. You're wrong. No, we all have our opinion, but that's my opinion that you're wrong. So
and you know, it also should be brought up that with the, you know, we have tried to restart this franchise 3 times now, or we have restarted this franchise 3 times now. We have originally, they ended the original run with a reboot for Jamie's or Laurie Strode's character in H2O, which was supposed to reboot the entire thing. It was completely disregarding some of the sequels. I'll get to that when I get to my rankings. And then, you know, you got Resurrection, which was continuing that storyline, and then Resurrection was a failure, and then we got Rob Zombie, and now you've got David Gordon Green. So this is a franchise that they have continued to try and keep alive, and I think they're on the right track now with David Gordon Green stuff. But basically, that's really what I'm going to get to with my rankings here. Is just how sloppy this franchise got over the past 40 years.
Yeah, I just want to notate a couple things in the horror world of movies. We now have 12 Halloween movies. We have now tied the Friday the 13th series. Halloween Ends comes out next year, which will put Michael having a bigger run than Jason Voorhees. So he will actually be the horror leader as far as overall movies, even though he wasn't in part 3. It's still 13 movies.
Well, he kind of was in part 3 if you want to get technical.
Yeah. But also, I mean, other ones are right underneath him. You had Nightmare on Elm Street has 9, Aliens is 8. Saw movies have made 8. There's a bunch have made 8 sequels or in their whole franchise. So, but even though we all love Michael and this list is about Michael, we still with sequels and franchises have not beat the king of monsters. Godzilla has 35 movies.
Right.
So, I mean, we as of next year, we're number 2 right behind Godzilla.
Well, you know, to be fair, I think if you put Godzilla up against Michael Myers, it'd probably be a good fight, but I think Godzilla would fucking eat his ass in the end. So,
but would he just stab him on the inside and pull like a Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and just come out through his stomach? I don't know. You never know.
You never know. I mean, the world we live in now and some of the shit we've seen on film, I would not put it past Hollywood to give us a Michael versus Godzilla movie at some given point in time.
It could be some weird director. It could be Rob Zombie doing it. Just decide, you know, I'm going to make Michael 300 feet tall.
That seems more like a Rob Zombie Halloween movie. As you put Michael Myers against Godzilla, I would actually watch that. Even if Rob Zombie directed it, I would watch it.
Yeah. And then Ash from Evil Dead comes in and kills them both.
Dude, here you go. What if?
What if
we've got the MCU, the DCEU, we'll start the slasher movie extended universe. And much like we brought every individual character from comic books together for the Avengers movies, we will do that with our horror icons. You'll have Pinhead, you'll have Leatherface, you'll have all of them. And eventually they will converge in one movie to have an ultimate battle.
And the one that goes through all of them will be Ash. The
Yeah.
movie is set around him, and he's going because remember he travels these dimensions because of the Necronomicon, and he goes to each one of their movie
Right.
franchise, and then it's like the Infinity War Endgame. All the icons show up in one movie to fight Ash and whoever he has on his side of the team.
You have everybody from Pennywise to Chucky, all the way down to like the Wishmaster guy.
Oh my God, dude! Now you're yeah. Or we'll have the thing from Basket Case.
Yeah, Belial.
Everything. We could bring it all in. Yeah, dude, we could totally do that.
We'll have the critters in there, like.
We're going crazy. We're here to do a countdown of Halloween movies. We're making our own movies.
Critters
right
versus Gremlins, dude. Critters versus Gremlins. I want to see that one.
That would be good. Dude, all right. Need to make that happen. All right, let's get back to Michael.
Let's get to it. We are going to do worst to first. So we're starting at the bottom of the barrel, working our way up to the top. Now, I do want to give an asterisk here. If you know anything about us, if you've listened to our podcast, you know Jason, you know me, we've talked about how much the original Halloween means to us. It should be no surprise that Halloween's going to be number one on the top of both of our lists. So, maybe? Yeah, I have no doubt that that's going to be. So if you're looking for some kind of surprise at the top of this list, I'll go ahead and spoil it for you now. There's no surprise there.
So thanks for listening. Subscribe below. Give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. But if you want to see what we're going to do from 12 to 2,
yeah,
you might want to watch.
So we're going to go ahead and start at number 12. And I want to do a countdown. And Jason and I will probably have the same one here. So 3, 2, 1.
Rob Zombie's H2.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
I'm going Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
I am going Halloween Resurrection.
Nope, I'm going H2.
Okay, explain your Halloween H2.
Because it's still a Rob Zombie movie. And it makes absolutely no sense. All this stupid stuff with his mom showing up with a white horse and all that crap. The mask, I don't care for. It's just it was just a jumbled pile of crap to me. I'm sorry. I mean, I love God, what's his name that plays Michael in these movies? He plays
Tyler Mane.
And Tyler Mane. Now that's the thing I don't dislike about either one of his movies. Tyler Mane did a great job playing Michael Myers, the big looming, huge, grab you by the throat and hang you up the ground and throw you across the swimming pool type guy. You know, he did great, but the big woolly. I mean, we look like Michael Myers in H2 right now. I mean, he had the big beard bulging out of the mask and everything. It's just, I did not care for the whole H2 and the tying in to young Michael and Ghost Mom, and they're calling Laurie into them. And, it was a mess to me. The movie was too all over the place.
Alrighty. Well, that was a shock for me. So we're starting off good here. I'm going Halloween Resurrection for number 12. And the biggest thing about Resurrection for me is this is a very uninspired movie. You have no real story plot because they do the absolute insult of killing Laurie Strode in this movie. Okay. And I think that, at the time they were going through these sequels, I think Jamie Lee Curtis was over it at this point in time. I don't think any of the scripts she had gotten were very good. And she was like, I'll do it, but I want you to kill me off. And
I don't fucking over this shit. Get me out of here.
And I don't blame her. That's not her fault. I have heard about some of the failed scripts that they have done for Halloween sequels and reboots and everything. And there have been some garbage scripts out there. This one is one of them, and I'm surprised this one even made it to shooting.
So that we all can receive somewhat of a robust back end when the shit is all over. I want my money, all right?
What's most surprising about this one for me is Rick Rosenthal, who directed Part 2, which is one of the best sequels in this series, directed this movie, and it is such a pile of garbage. It's completely like too brightly lit. There's just like this teen drama, teen angst thing to it. You don't have anything. Like, Michael has no point in this movie. Laurie is dead. And like, what's the point of Michael doing anything at this point if there's nothing driving that? That's where the story was going at this particular point in time.
Yeah, and all you did was going home, and there happened to be people in his house.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, you add the bonus of having actors like Busta Rhymes, which, you know, I would consider Busta Rhymes more of a rapper than an actor. So there's one thing I have an issue with. Now, I love Busta Rhymes. Don't get me wrong. I will rock some Busta Rhymes, but I don't want Busta Rhymes in my Halloween movies.
Relax, man. I'm only trying to give America a good show.
Same thing with Tyra Banks. There is a full, like, at least 2-minute scene of Tyra Banks dancing around making a cup of coffee in this movie. And I don't care. I don't want to see this. If you're going to give me a Halloween movie with Michael Myers, I would much rather see Rob Zombie's take doing Halloween 2 than the shit they give us in this movie. And that's my opinion. If you don't like it, that's your opinion.
We move on to number 11. Can you guess what my number 11 is?
Let me guess. Is it Rob Zombie's Halloween?
No, Halloween Resurrection, the movie you just talked about.
See, that's crazy. Like, I feel like if you were going bottom of the barrel for Rob Zombie, I figure you'd have both of his films at the bottom. But
well, they were so close. It was almost a quarter flip, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Of like which one. I despise both of these movies. They're both horribly, everything like you just said, everything I said about that one. But yeah, Halloween Resurrection is totally the whole thing when she's hanging off the side and he kisses her, and then yeah, I'm just like, what? Or she kisses
and like,
him.
what the fuck is there a crane doing on top of a mental hospital? That makes no sense whatsoever. The whole aspect of him grabbing her and pulling her down also logistically makes no sense.
Oh, that's what it is. They had the crane up there to teach people to overcome their fear of heights, so they hang them off the side of the building. Realize nothing's going to happen. That's what I'm going with. That's why it's there out of nowhere. So what do you got for 11?
My number 11 is Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Ooh.
I have a lot of issues with this movie. We touched on some of them in the podcast when we were talking about Halloween Kills. This movie takes 54 minutes to get to what I want to see in a Halloween movie. I do not like the aspect that they turned Michael into an emotionally and physically abused child, giving him that reason for doing what he does and becoming who he becomes.
Take that damn thing off. You are starting to annoy me, boy.
I hate you.
And I hate you too. You see this?
I think that takes away all the mystery. It strips away everything about what was great about that first movie.
Yeah.
I do, however, like some of the characters in it. I think Scout Taylor Compton is okay. She does the best with what she has in this movie.
Yeah.
And I like the relationship she has with her parents in this one. And that's really like the majority of what I really like about it. Some of the kills are pretty brutal. I do like Tyler Mane in this one as Michael.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I don't want to have to wait an hour to get to the Halloween story that I want to see. I don't need an hour of, you know, showing me an abused child becoming a serial killer. All of the stuff in Smith's Grove, especially when you're looking at the director's cut, Rob Zombie's cut of this movie with the rape and all of that stuff in the hospital. It's just completely, you know, over the top, unnecessary. You don't need it there. It's just there for shock value, and it doesn't make for a good movie for me. Now, when you get to the actual, what I would consider the remake of Halloween in that movie, I'm all right with that. From where it goes into Haddonfield to him stalking Laurie is pretty decent. I actually quite like it. I don't think the girls in this are as likable as Laurie and all the girls in the original. So that's a downside. And the ending of this movie goes on way too long.
And that's why it's my number 10. Because I still think it's better written from that point on than Resurrection and Rob Zombie's H2.
Right.
But it's just, like you said, the whole thing where the thing that made Michael scary in 1978, he was a 6-year-old boy that walked in his sister's room and stabbed her for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
None. And they even touched on it in Halloween Kills. It was just, he did it. There's no like, well, he had a troubled childhood. He liked to cut on rats and blah, blah, blah. His mom was a stripper. Her boyfriends were trash. His sister was promiscuous, sleeping with everybody, blah, blah, blah. And he lived in a poor home and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you're trying to make him human.
Yeah.
And Michael, that was better not. It was just a blank slate. That's why they gave him the, emotionless mask. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's just whatever is driving him. And we still don't know exactly what that is, even with Halloween Kills.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the most grating parts of this movie for me is William Forsythe in the beginning.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you.
It is like nails on a chalkboard trying to get through the opening couple of scenes of this movie because
I like that he dies early.
Yeah, I mean he dies early, but I mean all of the vulgarity that's put in here, like you didn't hear a whole bunch of cussing in the original Halloween, and I understand when you give Rob Zombie a script or you give Rob Zombie a movie like this, he's gonna do what he does to it. Yeah. We've talked about this before. Give Rob Zombie Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's his foray. Like, backwoods Texas redneck killing people with chainsaws. That screams Rob Zombie to me. Halloween never like Halloween and Rob Zombie was never a thought in my mind, and I was genuinely shocked when I heard that he was going to be remaking these movies. There seemed to be some promise there when they had the trailers originally. I remember both you and I were kind of like, oh yeah, this looks like it might be good, and complete letdown. I mean, just was not happy with it whatsoever.
Yeah, pretty much to the point he becomes a grown man. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's still not great. There's some stuff in there, but I mean, I love that they brought back Danielle Harris from Halloween 4 and 5. I met her. She's super nice.
That was good too, because she got a raw deal, and we'll talk about that when we get to the other movies here. But yeah, like she was a big part of this franchise and then pretty much just got shut out of it. And I do respect the fact that Rob Zombie made the effort to invite her back in, because she genuinely seems like she loved doing the Halloween movies. Yeah. So
I follow her on Instagram and stuff like that. She's constantly talking about it. I mean, she still will talk to everybody about these movies. When I met her in person, I think she was promoting Hatchet, maybe Hatchet 2 at the time. It's been a while back, but and she'll talk to you about Halloween stuff. She doesn't, I mean, I know she's kind of sore about the way things turned out, but she still loved her time in it, and that the fact that she was in the Rob Zombie movies. So she ended up being in 4 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but,
and that kind of brings me to my number 10. I'm putting Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 above the first one. Okay. My number 10 is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And for a few reasons. I respect the fact that Rob Zombie kind of went off and did his own thing here. It starts out with that dream sequence, which to be completely honest, going into the theater and watching this movie when I did, and finding out that opening dream sequence in the hospital was a dream sequence, was kind of like are you fucking kidding me? Like it's probably the best part of the movie. And then you find out you're in a dream sequence and you're like, well, motherfucker, like, what am I supposed to be looking at here? So it does make for a confusing, start to this movie. And then where we go from there, again, like this is kind of more of an original story from Rob Zombie. I think the characters are more relatable in this one because they are dealing with trauma that they experienced in that first movie. I do want to say the MVP of the Rob Zombie Halloween movies is Brad Dourif.
Oh yeah.
Brad Dourif is bringing his A game to these movies because I feel his emotional beats. I feel like when he's being goofy, it's genuine. When I feel like he's being serious, it's genuine. I never would have imagined that Chucky in a Halloween movie was going to be what I liked the most about a Halloween movie. Yeah. So I love his character in both of them. I think he's a great Sheriff Brackett. I think the relationship between he and Annie is really good in both of them. And you feel the weight of that when he finds out she's been attacked in the first movie. It is soul crushing when she dies in this one. And again, when he finds her dead in this movie, like you feel every bit of emotion there. Like I respect this movie for the fact that there's that kind of shit in it. And I will go ahead and say, like, part of my liking for this movie is sort of a guilty pleasure is when the girls all go to the party and they're dressed up like the characters from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's a good one.
I really like that's pretty damn good. So, but I mean, it's still full of problems. Like you said, the Sherry Moon zombie with the white horse and all of that stuff is just kind of, where is this coming from? You know, there's a whole bunch. Another thing with the Rob Zombie movies is they're loaded with characters so they can just intensify, you know, give us a bigger body count. Yeah. And, you know, they're characters I don't care about. And again, like, I cuss like a sailor, but the amount of vulgarity that comes out of people's mouths in Rob Zombie movies, for the most part, is just unbearable, you know?
Yeah. I think they're really, in a sense, Rob Zombie gets a movie, and I'm kind of wondering what he's going to do with this in the Monsters one that he's doing, is like he has to have a fuck counter.
Right.
Up in the top right corner. All right, have we reached our quota of the word fuck in this movie? If not, we need to start throwing them into the script right now.
Right.
It has to happen.
I am super curious. Like, I'm not on the bandwagon for it, but I'm super curious about this Monsters movie, because the Monsters is a wholesome TV show. You know,
I loved it.
Nothing
all the time.
Nothing
reruns,
vulgar.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, nothing vulgar about the Monsters. It is just, you know, classic movie monsters in a setting of if they were a regular family. I'm a little scared by Rob Zombie taking the helm on it, but I know he has a major love for that show, and I think I would think he would be very true to the feeling of that show. But so that brings us to our number 9. So
okay, so we have gotten both Rob Zombie movies and Resurrection out of the way. They're done, folks.
Get them out of here.
So all the people who love Rob Zombie movies, again, subscribe below, give us a like, because we just totally ruined your day. We're sorry. These are our opinions. Okay, on to number 9. Should we do a countdown?
I'm going to let you just throw yours out there. So what's yours?
Halloween 4.
Okay. That's a bit of a shocker for me. Explain.
First of all, we get our introduction. This is the return of Michael Myers. He hasn't been seen since 1981. We didn't get him in Halloween 3 because it's a whole different movie. My main thing, as you can see, I have a mask behind me. I fucking hate the mask. I hate it. All I can see is a walking mime from the mall in the whole movie. And I can't get over it. I mean, I forgot who actually plays Michael, but his overall look, it looks like he's wearing a padded vest under the suit. It doesn't look human. Like, it looks like they gave him a padded vest to go over it. Because, I mean, he has no pecs and his shoulders are way up here like this, and he walks like this. And he's got a mime mask on. It's not even a good representation of John Carpenter's mask. I mean, there's a list. We could do a list over the worst Michael Myers masks. To me, this is number 1 or number 2.
So the mask ruins the movie for you, basically.
Because I'm a Michael Myers fan. And I mean, there's parts of the movie that are good, but that's all I can focus on is how goofy he looks. It takes me out, because that's what you're looking for, is that iconic face, the iconic look of Michael Myers, and there's story aspects of it, like I said, that are okay, but it drags. And then it's our first time introduced to Jamie, which is supposed to be Laurie's daughter, because I guess she's gone into hiding to hide from Michael Myers. There's all kinds of different myths about what's going on.
The story there is that she died in a car accident.
Yeah, but we find out, later that it was basically they were, hiding her, government protection, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, there's so many different things people have beliefs of what really happened.
So wait, so that's what you think is happening in H2O?
Yeah, well, remember she went into hiding. Because she changed her name and everything, because she went into hiding and moved to California to get as far away from freaking Haddonfield as she could. Okay.
Well, we'll touch on that when I get to H2O in my count, because I have a different outlook on that than you do.
I mean, the Jamie Lloyd character's okay. In this one, I kind of liked her better than another movie, but we'll get into that shortly. But yeah, the mask kills it. It's like, bleh.
Number 9 for me is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This one continues the story from part 4 with Jamie Lloyd and everything that happened there. But I am not interested in this story. It's really silly that there's this psychic connection between her and Michael. A lot of the things in this movie don't make any sense at all. Why would Michael just be laying dormant for a year? Like his fucking muscles would have atrophied by then. Like it makes
He's been
no
shot, burned, blowed up.
And then we get the introduction to this mysterious man in black figure that, spoiler alert, ends on a cliffhanger in this movie and gets no explanation at all. So while the first time I saw this movie, I was a little like, I remember watching it late at night as a kid and being a little freaked out by it because it's a very dark movie.
Yeah.
Some of the scenes in this did kind of scare me as a kid, especially all the stuff in the cornfields and whatnot in the later part of it.
Oh yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah.
You talk about part 4, like they actually set up some good characters in part 4 with Jamie Lloyd and her sister Rachel, the family there. And then in this one, it's just a complete, again, like insult to us that you made us fall in love with Rachel in part 4, and then you immediately kill her in this movie. And then you have her friends taking over the lead roles and doing things with Jamie that makes no sense whatsoever. This is just a very sloppy movie. The story here is ridiculous. Loomis is absolutely unhinged in this movie. However, I just love Donald Pleasance being unhinged Dr. Loomis. So that's not really that big of a thing for me, but he's yelling at a child and dragging her around a hospital. Like it's not fun. This movie is not fun whatsoever. This is when we get the introduction to some of the stupid shit like the cops.
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
What about Max?
Adobe, right?
This is not happening to me. Max! Max, what have you done? I'm so embarrassed.
It's what we're here for.
Rescue cats.
Find dogs.
That's our job.
And we love it.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier about comedy interjected into Halloween movies. This is really their kind of first big interjection of comedy into a Halloween movie right there.
So this one's definitely down there for me because there's just a lot, this is the start of the whole Curse of Thorns stuff, which we didn't even know at that time. It was just something mysterious happening. And it's one of those movies that this is definitely like a filler movie. This one really is kind of like right there alongside Resurrection for me. Like Resurrection doesn't have anything really redeeming about it. This one at least has a couple of things. Yeah. But it's still like, I don't know how you could put this one above part 4, but that's just my opinion.
Well, that's the thing is I can say that it's better. I liked The Mask. I liked the story of him waking up. It's a little raw and dirty in the beginning. I like the idea of him riding around with that other mask on, driving a Camaro around town. With the girl that didn't even know that who it was. She thought it was her boyfriend, and he'd already killed him with the little 3-prong fork thing in the garage when they were trying to buy a keg. I like the kills in part 5 better. I like the barn when they go to the party. And they had kittens. There was kittens in the movie. Makes it better. Come on, man. They found the kittens in the barn.
Kittens can't save this one for me. So,
but no.
All right. So what's your number 8?
Number 8, H2O.
Okay.
Did you think it was going to be higher or lower on this list?
I kind of have mixed feelings about H2O, so it's not my number 8, but go ahead, just explain.
Well, H2O to me, I mean, again, it's the whole kickstart to the second run of Halloween because we had Halloween 1 and 2, the Laurie Strode story, and then we skip 4, 5, and 6, and we get H2O. This is years later, 20 years later to be exact, when the movie's made. Mm-hmm. Writing in this movie is not good. Some of the acting is not good. Most people just love it because the girls are in love with Josh Hartnett, and he shows up in the movie with his fucked up haircut. Somebody give that man a proper haircut.
His first movie, by the way.
Yeah. And he went on to Pearl Harbor and all that, and all the ladies fell in love with him. But I don't know. I had problems with it. It being tied to Halloween 1 and 2. it was a severe drop off in story pacing, the way it was just done. We do get LL Cool J in this one, which has superior acting chops to Buster Rhymes. I will put that on record. LL, you did way better than Buster. So that's way better. But it's, I don't know. And again, the mask is horrible. The twist at the end that we find out in Resurrection, and how I guess they were trying to fix it. That's almost why I hated Resurrection, is because at the end of this movie, I mean, we said heavy spoilers, so if you've never seen H2O, she thinks she kills Michael. It's over, and it's anticlimactic. He's pinned against a tree. She cuts his head off with an axe. Boring. There should have been a better fight, something. I don't know. If this was the end of the franchise, because that's what we were led to believe, that this was it, because there was no talks of Resurrection at this point, that it ended horrible. The ending's horrible. So that are my qualms with it.
Okay.
I could go for way more, but no, you got to go number 8 sometime today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still have H2O to get to, so we can discuss it more when I get to it.
There you go.
My number 8 would be Curse of Michael Myers, part 6. Again, this kind of comes, I can respect them developing the story they started with part 5 with the Man in Black, Curse of Thorns stuff and everything, but it's just not a good movie. That's something that should be said. Like, I don't think any of the Mask and any of the sequels look good. The Mask took an absolute downgrade from part 4 on. I mean, part 4 is definitely the worst of them, but I'm not really a fan of it. We didn't even talk about the Mask and Resurrection, like with the big fluffy eyebrows, and he looks like he's got a fucking afro. Like the Mask in that one is terrible. I like the producer's cut more than the theatrical cut.
Yeah, I do have that. I remember I told you years later that I had found it, but I had the rough cut. Producer's cut, where they just basically went in and threw in the extra scenes that
like a
really
legit
finished.
like a legit videotape that just had scenes dubbed into it.
It's pretty bad, but I enjoyed it because it was one of those things. If you're a Halloween fan, you had to go out there, and I found one. Paid a lot of money for it back in the day, but and now we do have the Blu-ray version of it with the producer's cut, which is way better.
Yeah, but, the story in the producer's cut is a little more cohesive, makes a little more sense. The terrible ending we got in the theatrical version with just injecting Michael with this I don't even know what it is, this poison, and then beating him down with a pipe. And then you get this cliffhanger of Dr. Loomis screaming at the end, because unfortunately we lost Donald Pleasance after this movie. And so, unfortunately we had to dispatch his character, but I find it more interesting with the way they ended it in the producer's cut, with him kind of taking over the Thorn stuff and having to kind of be the one that looks over Michael. But the story here is just completely overblown. The kills here are not really anything all that special for me. Again, you insult us by killing off Jamie in this movie, and also the annotations that Michael had sex with her and that the baby is Michael's, and it's never blatantly said in this movie, but that's pretty problematic.
Yeah, so. I mean, and it's kind of what you were talking about, the whole Jamie Lloyd story, Daniel Harris. This is where they basically wrote her out of the script.
Yeah,
because I think she wanted to be in Halloween 6, and they put her as it was a time jump, because I mean, in part 5 she's still a small child, and then here we get her old enough to bear children. She looks like she's either in high school or in like 19, 20 years old at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's supposedly, because the whole curse of whatever is Michael has to kill everybody in his family. It's a family curse.
Yeah.
Type thing. And that's what it is. And I guess the child was going to be the next Michael. I mean, that's almost kind of what you're led to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's out to kill both her and the kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
It also just kind of makes Michael out to be this like lapdog. Like, it's just, go do this, you go do that, and then at the end he goes off the rails. But this is really where I think this franchise gets super convoluted and the story goes off the rails. And this is really the major turning point. Like 5 and 6 are really the major, just like, oh my God, where are they going with this shit? But that's my number 8. So what's your number 7?
My number 7 is 5.
5. Okay.
Yeah. My number 7 is 5.
Anything to add, or just what we've already talked about?
No, pretty much I mean, like I said, I actually enjoyed it better than H2O. Like I said, I kind of enjoyed the cops a little bit because for one thing, I believe they die. It's been a while since I've watched part 5. You got to go back and watch that again. But there's parts about part 5 I do like.
And to be said, like as much as I bitch and complain about the story and how bad some of these movies are, does not dissuade me from actually turning them on and watching them every fucking year at some point in time.
Yeah. I just haven't got to that one this year. I mean, I definitely turn on my Blu-ray set that my buddy Josh got me for a Christmas present a while back, and I will go through all of them. So except the Rob Zombie ones, I don't even watch those.
See, I even still will revisit them. I'm like, maybe I'll watch it this time and see something I haven't seen before. Nope, still just a bunch of redneckery fuckery. So,
what's your 7?
My number 7 is H2O. There's things I like here. To be said, this was again, we talked about this trying to reboot the franchise. I think they, this is where you and I differ a little bit. I think they're completely disregarding the Jamie story here. I think they're literally just going from here's where I have a lot of issues. I don't know if they're going from part 1 or 2 because the story again is so all over the place. In this movie, you have Michael just all of a sudden shows up at Marion Chambers' house and breaks in
looking for Dr. Loomis,
and he's dead, and finds out where Lori is. So number 1, you just have Michael appearing. You don't know where he came from. Like if we're meant to believe that this is disregarding everything after part 2, then that doesn't explain him being on fire in the hospital at the end. Yeah. However, you have Josh Hartnett's character in this movie saying that, we have a serial killer in the family. So they're sticking with the fact that Lori is his sister here, but you're not giving me anything stating, okay, well then what happened to the burning body at the end of part 2? They're retconning it to where, he just got up and left after that first movie, and now he's back to find Lori.
20 years later, he just walked out and disappeared for 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. Just where was he? And now he's back.
Go ahead.
And apparently she's his sister, and he knows that, and she knows that. But again, if we're disregarding part 2, then the sister thing doesn't add up. So this movie, the story here is very sloppy, and that's really my biggest issue with it. That and the fact that you got CGI masks that look terrible, and 3 different masks that they're using, and LL Cool J writing 50 Shades of Grey, and I don't care. Like, I don't want to hear about you writing your sex novel. Again, like this movie takes place the majority of the time during the day, so it's very brightly lit. There's no mystery here. You've got Michael in full frame in most of the shots.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I can at least respect the fact that they were trying to start over and disregard the shit that wasn't working, like the Curse of Thorns stuff and all of that shit. So that's really the biggest reason it's higher on my list, because you got Jamie Lee Curtis back. I absolutely love all of the callbacks to Psycho with Janet Leigh.
That's great. Yeah.
And the car. The score is a little bit better here than some of the other ones we had. Like the guitar score in Curse of Michael Myers is god awful. So that's really, this one is right middle of the road for me. So it's not good, but it's better than the worst.
And I know why you like H2O better, because Steve Miner directed it.
Steve Miner, director of part 2 and 3 of Friday the 13th. Yeah. So, I mean, still, like, it doesn't feel like a Friday the 13th movie. The fact that Steve Miner directed it doesn't really mean much to me, but
I just know we said at the beginning of this, Josh likes Friday 13th series, so we have a Steve Miner film in our Halloween group directed by a Friday the 13th director.
Honestly, this feels more like a Scream movie than anything.
Yes,
because it came out after, it's right after Scream came out and kind of revitalized horror. So therefore, I think Kevin Williams has an uncredited writing credit on this. I think there was a lot of a big fiasco with that, but I think Kevin Williams was involved. And I mean, this feels like a Scream movie, and it's coming from Miramax, same studio as as Scream. So that
Yeah.
that all makes sense. So number 6.
6.
6.
Six. 6. No, that's why and we've already discussed that one, the whole producer's cut and everything. I guess I have a soft spot for 6. I like that we get Paul Rudd and his character.
His first movie, ever movie for
first
Mr.
movie.
Paul Rudd. We would not have Ant-Man if it was not for Halloween 6.
And I kind of like his character's movie. He's off. He's got this weird tick to him type feel.
Well, spoiler alert, he's a lot better of a Tommy than the Tommy that we get in Halloween Kills.
Yeah, I was about,
Evil dies tonight!
he's definitely a better Tommy for sure. I kind of like some of the mythos with the thorn thing back in the day, because it was cool. It was mystical, mysterious, things to do with Stonehenge or whatever. And
Oh no, Stonehenge is coming up in a little bit.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just saying the old Celtic, pagan days of religion and stuff like that. I kind of liked it because I was into that kind of stuff back in those times, and I thought it was cool. I mean, at one time I wanted to get that tattoo on my wrist, the thorn thing that's on Michael's wrist. I'm glad I didn't. I talked myself out of it, but I was like, that's so cool. That's what it means. Then when you go to look it up, I don't think that's actually what it means because it's all about runes they keep talking about.
Yeah,
and it's not what it means. It's about what I could find, but I mean, I did like the movie, and like you said, if you watch the producer's cut, it does give it a better spin, I think, a little than what we got in the theater. So that's why I got 6 at 6.
See, this is crazy. Like I feel like the story in those movies is so bad, and part 4 is at least a competent story trying to continue from the original. And just the fact that The Mask is so bad is what ruins it for you, not the story, not any of that. It's like, it's just fucking crazy to me.
But no, that's what I said. When we talk about these lists and these movies we talk about on our show, it's all about a nostalgia feel. And 4, I have no nostalgia for that movie, and I don't enjoy watching it. 5, I like The Mask better. I kind of like it. It's a little grittier of a movie to me than part 4. It's a little different. And then 6, I just like the movie. I mean, I like I said, it's a little sloppy of a story, but I enjoyed it, and I still do today. And if I got to watch 4, 5, and 6, I will watch all of them because I love my Halloween movies. And it's hard to make this list because they all have a place in my little Halloween heart that I love. There's things about every movie that I love, but if we're going to nitpick it, I'm going to go with 6 at 6. So
number 6 for me is part 4 with the return of Michael Myers.
Oh, there you go.
I like the story here. It was the most organic storyline they could go with after what happened in part 2 and then the change up in part 3. So, if you've got Laurie or Jamie Lee Curtis not interested in coming back, okay, then take it a step further. Okay, I don't mind the story that Laurie died in a car accident, but her daughter was left, and it's a story following her. Like if you're going to have Michael following the Laurie Strode character or the Strode family, or his family, that's just a natural progression. I can look past The Mask in this one, even though it is absolutely god awful. Like it would probably be the bottom on my
Watch
Mask
the movie
list.
like this.
Yeah.
Mask. Okay, cover up. Okay, he's gone. Okay, watch it again.
And I also don't like the actor that plays Michael in part 6. So kind of the same thing you don't like about this one. Like I don't think the guys
weird.
Yeah, I don't like the guys in those movies. I don't think fit the stature of Michael Myers very well, and they just look odd. But I like Loomis looking for Michael, going back to Haddonfield, the gas station scene. The one thing about this movie that got me when I first saw it, I still vividly remember when that scene happens when he comes to life in the back of that ambulance and puts his thumb through the guy's head.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is a different Michael. You can
hear the bones as he's pushing his thumb in.
And at least they're respecting the end of part 2. Like, okay, he's been a burn victim for the past however long. Again, if he'd been laying there still and lifeless for all this time, his muscles would have atrophied, and there makes no sense that he would be able to get up and walk around. But still, I'm able to go with that here.
Dude, he's anti-atrophy.
Yeah,
that's what basically we found out because you said that's what should have happened in part 5,
and
it happened in part 4. Michael doesn't get atrophy, dude. He's great. He's like, this shit don't bother me. What's atrophy? I got a pill for that. Just give me up and let me go, and I got people to kill.
So, I mean, I find part 4 to be a better movie than 5 and 6. You know, I can look past the mask when it comes to the storytelling. You know, I kind of like the whole endings part with them in the house, being locked in the house with Michael and then him terrorizing them. The fact that he uses a shotgun to not shoot somebody, but impale someone through a door. I think that's badass. And that's better than anything I see in part 5 and 6. So,
yeah, and then we get Jamie killing, or
and then,
no,
yeah,
she doesn't
like,
kill her. She attacks her foster mom.
right. The ending of this one is also like, oh damn, they're going this route with this. Like, that was shocking to me. So I think there's a lot of redeeming qualities for part 4. So that's why it's a little higher on my, well, I mean, it's technically right in the middle of my list. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I mean, the mask is a hard part for me, but I do like the movie. And that's why we're making this list. It's hard to make this list. Like I said, did it 5 times, and it's really hard to rank these because there are parts about every single movie that I really love, and that's why I love the Halloween franchise. But if you got to make a list, I'm finding a little bit of things and like, okay, am I going to nitpick this or this or this, or am I feeling nostalgic about that? But and I can't argue with. I mean, really and truly, I can't argue about any of these except the first 12, 11, and 10. I mean,
yeah.
those are easy to discard, but from then on, it's hard to do these movies.
Well, so. we're past the halfway point. So, what's your number 5?
Halloween Kills.
Okay.
Halloween Kills, the new one. We just did a whole show on it.
Yeah, it'll be linked up here if you want to go listen to that episode. We'll link it right up there for you.
I like because it gets me back into it. It gets me back into the story because we got all our characters. We got Lindsay, we got Tommy, we got Lonnie. We get the flashback to 1978, which we found out in our other episode. We were talking about CGI, but in recent news, we found out it was no CGI for Dr. Loomis.
All makeup effects, baby.
Practical makeup, and they had a guy do the voice, a different person than the actor do the voice, and nailed it.
Yeah.
So I give that up to them for doing that. I mean, at the time when we did that episode, I saw the thing we could think of is that it was CGI because they do it in Star Wars movies and everything else nowadays.
Yeah.
And Marvel movies with the de-aging processes and stuff like that. But
yeah, like we like I legit like pressed stop on the recording and then looked on Twitter and they were like, no CGI, it's all makeup effects. And I was like, well, shit, that's going to make us look like assholes.
So we're going to redeem ourselves here. At the time, there was no news out there that that's what it was when we recorded that episode. But I do like it. I like that. And we touched on it. The brutality. Love the score. And I can't say that enough. I mean, I got it playing in my truck when I'm driving around now. Just, dude, John and Cody Carpenter are great.
Yeah.
They work with some other people too, but it's
well, I think it's Dave Davies, I think is his name. He's the son of someone, the guy from the Kinks. Like he is connected to someone within rock and roll history. So I mean, you've got a trio of people working on this score now that is just, it's a great fucking score, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I haven't made it to my second watching yet, and it's hard to even put it up on this list higher than some of these other movies because of the nostalgia I feel for these movies of growing up and being in love with the character of Michael Myers for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a great movie. I mean, we talked about Evil Dies Tonight. There's horrible.
Definitely problems with it.
Yeah, but if we're going to nitpick it, that's the biggest part that brings me out of it. So, yeah, that's my number 5 is Kills.
Well, children, it's almost time.
4 days to Halloween. Turn that down.
My number 5 is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Oh my God, I cannot believe that you're gonna make me have mine listed higher than you.
That's
after all these years of you talking to me about Halloween 3, and I gave it a chance. I cannot believe this. I figured you'd have it. I figured you'd have it like number 2 or 3.
It is where it is on my list, my friend. Now, we can go ahead and talk about it a little bit. Obviously, you've got it higher on your list than mine, but this movie came with all kinds of negative shit. Michael Myers isn't in it. What are they doing? They're ruining the franchise. Like, I remember watching Halloween movies as a kid, and my mom, even my mom, who's not really like super into movies like I am, but showed me these movies, or at least let me watch them when I was a kid, was like, no, we're not watching Halloween 3. It doesn't have Michael Myers in it. We're not watching it. Like, that was the biggest thing, is you're going to make a Halloween movie and not have Michael Myers in it. Get that shit out of my face. This is not a bad movie. It just happens to be a part of a franchise where they made a misstep. Because if you named this movie anything other than Halloween, there would be no negative connotations in that regard towards this movie. It would either be a cheesy 80s B horror movie, or just like. But I think that this movie gets so much unwarranted hate for the fact that it's just because it was named Halloween 3.
I'll go ahead and talk about it because it's my number 4.
Okay.
So, and since we're just gonna go diagonal right to me.
Yep.
I expressed a lot of hatred for this movie in the time I've known you.
Yeah.
And because that exactly is, I fell in with the herd, as per se, that bandwagon of
Michael's not in it. Get that shit out of here.
In it. And I love Michael Myers. And to put this movie higher on my list than any movie with Michael Myers in it, probably 8-9 years ago, it would have been number 12.
Yeah.
Today.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a friend of ours that my buddy Nathan, I believe that's who told you, says you need to go and watch this movie. And it is not a Halloween movie. You watch it as a movie called Season of the Witch. And take Michael out of it.
To be honest, even the name Season of the Witch makes no sense in the story of this movie. I have no idea why they named it Season of the Witch.
I think it's going back to the pagan days of witchcraft, where they're using the parts of Stonehenge as like...
It was the start of the year in our old Celtic lands, and we'd be waiting in our houses of wattles and clay. The barriers would be down, you see, between the real and the unreal. And the dead might be looking in to sit by our fires of turf. Halloween.
Like, witches would do on Halloween night. They'd go out and have a fire and do seances and all that kind of stuff, because on Halloween night, the realms between the spirit world and that and the real world, the veil is the thinnest, so things can happen. So I could kind of see where they're going with the whole witch thing, because it's more of a pagan thing they're going with.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, once I took that into my brain and let it sit there, because Josh knows I'm a stubborn asshole. I
can attest to this.
I actually like this movie. I love Tom Atkins, which is Night of the Creeps and
great,
all that good stuff. Great. We've done a Night of the Creeps episode.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Atkins is great in this movie. And then we get that thing at the end. It's like the whole Attack of the Body Snatchers ending, where he's screaming right into the camera, like he's screaming at you on the TV. And that's great, because it took me to take it out of my head of that there is no Michael Myers. This isn't a normal Halloween movie. This is the anthology films that John Carpenter wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's what the master, John Carpenter, wanted to do. So I had to take that into consideration. I love my John Carpenter stuff. So therefore, I kind of started to love this movie a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
And I like to watch it now. And the whole happy Halloween.
And honestly,
will get stuck in your head for a week.
That would be enough to drive someone insane and never want to watch this movie again, honestly. But I love it, dude. Like, even as much as they do it in this movie, I just fucking love it. Like, I don't have a problem with it. And I love the mask. I love the idea of these masks are going to obliterate children, even though really it makes no sense, because like, what time zone are they on? When are these kids going to be watching it as opposed to these kids? Like, a lot of let's again make no bones about it. There's shit in this movie that has problematic and makes no sense.
Continuity.
But, yeah, there's bad continuity in this movie, but still, like you said, I love Tom Atkins. I love the bizarre storyline. I love the production value of the mask and what they do. I love the outcome of what happens when you wear these masks and they play the music and the aftermath of that with the snakes and the bugs. And it's just so bizarre and out there. Like, it deserves to be looked at with much better regard than people look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. Like I said, 8-9 years ago, it would have been number 12 if we were talking today.
Hell, 8-9 years ago, I would have still never seen it because I was on the bandwagon of, oh, Michael's not in it. I don't give two shits about it.
Oh yeah, and I'd seen it, and that's why I didn't like it.
And honestly, it's, as you can see from our list, it's better than half of the fucking Michael Myers movies on the list.
Yeah. It's like I said, it has grown on me because it's almost like a fun Halloween movie for this time of the year. It's a different take. So it's not the same old Michael shows up and kills everybody type thing. And like I said, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm wearing the freaking overalls with the mask and everything. Michael is key in these movies. But if it's a Halloween movie in this ranking, I do like it better than some of the subpar stuff that came before it.
And
that came after it, I should say. And
I will die on the hill that, honestly, if you want Michael Myers in this movie, Michael Myers is in this movie. You just got to look for him.
He's got to look close. Really there. He's right
so
there.
that was your number 4. So that means we're on to my number 4.
Yeah.
My number 4.
If you say Halloween Part 2, I'm hanging up.
It's Halloween Kills.
Okay. Woo! I thought I was like, end call.
So I would imagine.
There we are.
I would imagine
we're diagonal.
I would imagine that makes your number 3 Halloween 2018.
Maybe.
Well, if you're just giving me shit about having Halloween 2 here, so I think we can see where this list is going. So we can kind of combine because Halloween 2018 is my number 3. So
you're correct.
Yeah.
We share our brain for the top 3.
So if you want to hear our full thoughts on Halloween Kills, you can listen to the podcast. I'll link it here. I'll link it down below. You can go check it out. We really went into detail on that one, broke it down, spoilers and everything. But, you know, it's at number 4 here for me, with 2018 at number 3 right above it. Mainly because, I mean, I think I honestly enjoyed Halloween Kills better on a first watch than I did 2018 Halloween.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I still have a lot of issues with Halloween Kills, which we talked about. The Evil Dies Tonight stuff is absolutely terrible. The dialogue in this movie has some major issues. But its story makes things that I disliked in 2018 better for me.
Yeah,
so therefore,
we talked about that in the episode.
Yeah, so therefore 2018 is going to sit higher than this one because I do feel like they did the right thing with correcting some of the story beats in 2018 in Halloween Kills, namely the Dr. Sartain twist. We talked in depth about that we did not like that about 2018, but Halloween Kills sort of gives that twist a purpose. So if you watch it in context of the story they're telling, I kind of dig it at this point. I can kind of rock and roll with what they're giving me here. So even though the initial first viewing of Halloween 2018 was a downer for that twist, I can roll with it now. And it's because, like, I think Halloween Kills is a good sequel to Halloween 2018. This is a very divisive movie. A lot of people are loving it or hating it. I haven't seen a whole lot of in-betweens. But you know, I ultimately like the movie. And that also goes into 2018. Like, I think they're a great pairing. I'm anxious to see where Halloween Ends is going to fall within this, if it's going to be right there behind Halloween Kills, or if it's going to be something that's going to make me go, okay, no, this is the bottom of my list now. Like,
is it going to be 13 next year?
Right. So
I would probably still rank it at about 10.
Yeah.
Because Rob Zombie's and Resurrection will still be the bottom 3.
Right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say at least it will be a number 10 in this list after it comes out next year.
So I think that makes both of our number 3s are the same. Therefore, both of our number 2s are the same. We both really still love and respect the original sequel to Halloween. For Halloween 2.
People hate on it.
Again, I grew up watching them in order like that. So therefore, it was just the natural progression for me to watch 1 and then watch number 2. So, and with the way those movies are made, much like what they're doing with 2018 and Halloween Kills, like, they go one right into the other. So it was an easy way for me to just continue watching a story that I liked. So
I mean, and they didn't do that in horror movies back then. Even into the 80s, they still didn't do that on a lot of the movies. It was always a year later. They almost went with the time it took. Like if your movie came out in 1981, you release a sequel in 84, they say 3 years have passed.
Yeah.
Well, you had 3 years between 78 and 81 when Halloween 2, and it still takes place on the same night.
Yep.
And I love it, like you said, because you can watch the Blu-ray. I almost wish they just did a one continuous movie Blu-ray. That would be great.
I could put that cut together for you if you'd like.
Yeah, just make that happen. So you just hit play and you watch it 1 and 2 as one movie. And
no, I mean, I won't say there's not issues with part 2. I mean, some of the shit in there and some of the acting in there is not very good. Now, a lot of people want to complain about how brutal Halloween Kills is and how brutal 2018 was compared to the original. Halloween 2 compared to the original is much gorier and a lot bloodier. Like they upped the game in that regard. So it's kind of par for the course for this series that the more you go, the more gorier they're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, even for, like I said, 1981, there's a lot of blood in it. The kills are a lot worse because in John Carpenter's Halloween, there don't really any at all.
Well, again, I mean, they were. I'm sure if they had a bigger budget to make a movie, they probably would have done a lot more than they did. They were working on the constraints of the budget they had. They probably did not have the money to afford makeup effects and tons of blood. They had to work with what they had. And
well, that's the thing. But John Carpenter was a fan of Psycho, and it's what you don't see that makes it scary.
Yep.
And that's why you don't get that. He was doing the Psycho. He was going Hitchcock with this. With part 1, where in part 2, different director, Rick Rosenthal did this one?
Yep.
Yeah. And I forgot in part 3, Tommy Lee Wallace directed that one.
But that's the other thing about
more of the John Carpenter tree.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the other thing about these first 3 movies in this Halloween series is you had even though Carpenter didn't direct 2 or 3, he was still a producer on those movies. You had the same crew working on them. You had Dean Cundy doing the photography in all 3 of them, so they all looked alike. Yeah. So you kind of just it felt natural with those. I mean, even if you throw part 3 in there, it still looks and feels like those first 2 Halloween movies. So it has DNA that all kind of works together.
I mean, that the blood count in part 2 is higher because you got the one scene where they go in there and he had the nurse and he drained her dry and the whole floor is covered in blood. Yeah,
way more blood than it could ever be in the human body.
Yeah, we talked about that in our Halloween 1 and 2 episodes last year.
Yeah.
There ain't that much blood in the body. It's just like it just continuously, and it was still dripping when he walked in. So
in the context of you not liking part 4, simply like a lot of the reason you don't like part 4 is because of the mask. Like you could equate how bad Jamie Lee Curtis's wig is in this and make the same argument.
I talked about it. That's I think it was my ugly. Yeah. When we did these movies, is that wig is horrible because she'd cut her hair off for another movie. And she had that wig is so bad. Still not as bad as the mime mask in part 4, but it's really bad because you can equate that to like a bad hair day in the hospital or something like that, but it's still bad.
Obviously, the original Halloween is our number 1 on both of our lists.
Shocker!
What?
Woo! I didn't know this was gonna.
We won't be able to say anything that hasn't already been said about that movie. You've got some people now that feel like the Rob Zombie remake is better than this one, which I think is absolutely insane, but that's my opinion. I wanted to bring up a point that I've briefly talked about with you is I imagine if Halloween 1978 was the only Halloween movie we ever got. Or at least the only Michael Myers Halloween movie.
We would have got the anthology thing instead.
Right. I know it's tough to say that because everything gets remade nowadays, or at least has a sequel made to it. Even movies that I hold in very high regard. Like I feel like Jaws is its own movie. Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. And I feel like it's its own movie that you can't touch, and like remaking it would be a sin, but they've still made sequels to it. They've continued that franchise, and it's gotten progressively worse and worse. I feel like that could have been done with Halloween, but imagine if all you got was from that 1978 movie was what John Carpenter gave us, and then the end of that movie on the cliffhanger that it gives us with Michael still out there in the night somewhere. You don't have all of this context of he's chasing his sister. He's possessed by the curse of Thorn. I mean, just think the closing line of that movie would be,
"What's the boogeyman?"
As a matter of fact, it was.
Just the fact that the movie could end with him still being out there and we never know any more of that story is just like puts it in your head, especially if you're a kid watching a movie like that. Like, Michael Myers is out there in the world walking around somewhere. We never got a satisfying end to that story. We just know Michael is still out there. I think that is one of the scariest things you could have ever done. And I really wish I lived in a world where that was the case.
He's still out there.
Yep.
Is he in your neighborhood? Is he on your street? You know,
or just
that's terrifying. And you're constantly thinking, is Michael still out there?
Mm-hmm.
Is he here? Is he out in my backyard? Is he behind a tree? Is he hanging in the sheets that I got out to dry right now?
Yeah.
You know, he's in your closet. He's under your bed.
It fucking gives me chicken skin, dude. Like, I wish as much as I love watching these movies and having fun with them, and the fact that I like the new timeline as much as I am starting to like it, I think I would love it even more if that was the case, where that was the only inkling of Michael Myers we've ever had in our lives. I feel like it would still be just as iconic, or probably more, because we wouldn't have gone through all of this shit that we've gone through to kind of ruin the character for 30 years. And now we're trying to get him back on track, but still having trouble in that regard sometimes. But, you know,
yeah, a little bit behind. Yeah. It's, I would enjoy that. I think just every Halloween you watch Halloween, just the one, because that's all you got.
Yep.
Is you let your imagination and the human mind, which we are terrified of so many things, of the not known, that Michael's still out there walking around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all fiction, but it makes your mind really think that. And every time you're outside and the leaves are falling and the pumpkins are on the street and you walk out your back door, you're like, this is Michael out here.
Yeah. You have no context that, oh, he's just out looking for his sister or whatever it is. Whatever bullshit they tried to give us. It's just, there is a masked maniac out here trying to kill me.
Exactly.
You know, like, and he's out here somewhere. He's still out in that world somewhere, you know. I think that would have been so great, but, you know.
Well, hey,
money.
Yeah. Mustafa Ackhead was like cha-ching, 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 and now his family is still going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And John Carpenter's, I'm pretty sure he likes his check he gets every time they make these movies. Because I mean, he's doing the score, so he's getting paid to do them anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we just talked to that. I mean, down in the comments, tell us what you think. I mean, if you think that would just be a more terrifying story if they just did one Halloween movie.
Yeah, I would definitely like to hear people's take on that. Like, do you feel like it would be a stronger franchise, or, I mean, do you think it would be a stronger movie as opposed to a franchise? You know, just one standalone movie.
It's a standalone movie. And they could have done the anthology movies where we had a different story, and they could have carried. We could have 13 Halloween movies of 12 other stories about a Halloween night theme.
Yeah.
But we never get that closure on Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And in every movie you're watching to see if he's there. And they can even have subtle hints about, like, they're in another part of the country. And then he says, hey, did you ever read that newspaper story about that guy in where is it, Haddonfield? Did you ever catch that guy?
Right.
And they could throw that little seeds in every movie, and even do it with the movie part 3, and then mention something that happened in part 3 and part 7 type.
Yeah.
That could be a great film franchise in its own.
It's kind of cool, because there's that show Midnight Mass that's on Netflix right now. By the director's name escapes me at the moment, but he directed, you know, he's involved with that show. He directed Hush, which is on Netflix, and then he also did the Gerald's Game.
And that book is,
And that book appears in each one of those. The book Midnight Mass is in Gerald's Game and Hush. So it would just be one of those little things like that. Like you could have done that through an entire anthology series. I think it could have been something like that's the, I've often said I've even mentioned it on this show a couple of times, like give me a DeLorean that goes back in time. I will go back and I will fix Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. And I would like to go see what the timeline would look like if you just let John Carpenter do what he originally planned to do and just leave Michael Myers alone and continue a horror anthology that's set on Halloween. I think that's a great idea. And unfortunately, we just couldn't make that shit happen.
Make one Jaws movie happen and tell Rob Zombie, just stay with the music.
Stick to music.
But
I'll go see Rob Zombie in concert all day long. I just don't want to watch his Halloween movies.
See him and watch John 5 play guitar, dude. That'd be a great show. But we're just not a fan of his Halloween movies here. And like I said, we said it before. We know there's people who say his movies are the quintessential Halloween movies. And again, it's your opinion. Our opinion is that we don't like them, but we appreciate you watching and listening. To this show. And like I said, if you disagree or agree, let us know below or shoot us something on any of our social media and tell us what you think. I mean, we'd like to go back and forth. But everybody remember, we all love Halloween. No hate or nothing right here. We might drop that word a couple of times or something, but we love all these movies. We just don't like certain things, and we feel certain ones are better than the others.
Yeah, feel free to leave us any comments below, what you like, what you dislike. If you agree or disagree with our list, that's what we're here for, and we will chat with you in the comments. We like interacting with everybody, so definitely leave us some comments. If you like this episode, smash the like button, hit subscribe, so that way you know when we're putting out new videos. This will also be up on our podcast stuff, so you can find us wherever you get your podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that stuff. Hit us up on social media at VHS Files Podcast. And I think that's going to do it for us here. That was our worst to first for Halloween. So maybe we'll do some more worst to first with like other horror franchises in the future. So let us know in the comments below if you want to hear that from us. But until then, be kind.
Rewind. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. You've been listening to the VHS Files Presents The Horror Section. We drop new episodes every Friday, so make sure you're subscribed and leave us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast. Interact with us on all social media platforms at VHS Files Podcast. Email us your questions, comments, and movie suggestions at vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back.
Jason's horny today.
Dude, that's dude, we used to make a joke about
Halloween,
that song.
it gets him in the mood.
Halloween.
Woo! I'm all jacked up on Mio with energy. Wow. 8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Or however many days we have when this comes out.